Joining us today for Primetime Local News is Tyler McMurtry with SGI. Thank you so much for once again joining us today, Tyler.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Yes, it's been quite a while since we've been able to have an interview with you, so this is really nice to have you back on here. And we were kind of speaking on, this release you sent out for SGI about Traffic Safety Spotlight that highlighted the number of daytime impaired driving collisions for last month. So can we just start off with that and you just kind of go into the collisions and all the issues there?
Yeah, one of the things we wanted people to understand is that impaired driving isn't just an evening thing or something that happens in the early morning hours. It really does happen at all times of the day. And when we take a look at the impaired driving collisions that we see here in Saskatchewan over the course of the last 5 years, on average, more than 1 in 3 take place between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So 35% of impaired driving collisions happen during the daytime. So, obviously there is never a good time to drive impaired. And whether it's daytime or nighttime, police are always on the lookout for impaired drivers. So that's why it's always a good time and always a good reason to plan a safe ride home.
And how would you say how many impaired driving offenses there were in May?
So in May, and this is impaired driving offenses, they're not time specific, they're not time stamped, but we did see 476 impaired driving offenses. So that breaks down between 206 criminal code charges and another 270 administrative license suspensions. So lower level impaired driving offenses that come when you violate the provincial limits for either alcohol or drugs.
Now, for people out there and, drivers that may not be taking this seriously, they may not think it's a big deal if they can still drive and they just don't know how serious this could be. What can you say that they can face if they ever get pulled over and they're caught?
Well, hopefully you never are in a situation where you caused a collision and injured yourself or somebody else as a result of your decision to impaired drive. But just getting caught, if somebody's going to drive impaired, them getting caught is the best case scenario, not necessarily for the person who drove, but for everybody else they share the road with. And for the person who gets caught, even violating those provincial standards, so 0.04 for an experienced driver, zero tolerance for all drugs for all drivers, zero tolerance for alcohol for new drivers as well. So you're looking at the very least a 3-day license suspension, a 3-day vehicle impoundment for an experienced driver. You are looking at a requirement to attend a weekend driving without impairment course. So that's 14 hours in a classroom on a nice weekend that you could be spending doing something else. And there's also demerits that go along with that as well. And now that's for violating just the provincial levels where you don't get a criminal charge or a criminal record upon conviction. If you are charged with impaired driving, that's a much more significant set of circumstances. You start with a more indefinite length license suspension until the charges are dealt with in court or until you're eligible for ignition interlock. Your vehicle is impounded for 30 days at roadside immediately. And then upon conviction, you're looking at fines, a criminal record imposed by the court, potential jail time, depending on the severity of the offense and the circumstances that surrounded it, ignition interlock requirement for a year, and much more significant penalty under safe driver recognition as well. So you go to immediately minus 20 on the safe driver recognition scale. You're looking at a financial penalty starting at around $1,250. So it's a very costly mistake. Absolutely not worth it to take that chance and get behind the wheel if you're impaired.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it after you just listed off all of that. That's very serious punishments right there. So hopefully people are really listening and, if they're ever doing that all the time, hopefully they will be stopping that soon just to keep everybody safe out there on the roads. Now for May, I know there was some other offenses. What else has law enforcement reported during May for this year?
Yeah, for May, they saw 490 seatbelt and car seat offenses. So somebody not properly restrained using a seatbelt, or if in the case of small children, a booster or car seat. That's a $175 ticket in Saskatchewan and 3 demerit points. There was also 841 tickets for a distracted driving offense. So that's either using a cell phone while driving or driving without due care and attention. In both cases, that's a $580 ticket for a first offense and 4 demerit points. And then, of course, we saw a high number of speeding tickets as well. Speeding is the most common traffic offense that is committed and is caught on Saskatchewan roads. In May, police caught 5,338 speeders or people committing some other sort of aggressive driving infraction. And of course, the fines on that vary depending on where you're speeding and how fast you're going. But as you accelerate, the fines escalate.
Wow, that is a high number right there. So hopefully, for this next month, for June, those numbers start to go down a bit more and people can kind of relax and drive more safely. But it's always nice to be able to speak with you and help get the word out there of how much was reported during the month and everything, and just knowing that people need to smarten up and definitely know how to follow the rules when it comes to driving safely. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shelby. It's always great to talk to you.